I'd like to go through another random talk, but I hope you find it interesting. It's about creativity, intuition, awakening, and also related to AI. Let me start with the experiences many of you may have had. Like in my case, when everything is ready, you can just get things done. Like when I wrote the first book, I did it in 2 months and a half, and the video, 3.5-hour video, was done 2 weeks of taking and short time for edit. Idea, when we come up with the idea, it looks like it comes from somewhere else. So when we look at the luck and the creativity and idea generation, or even awakening, I see it as if when everything is ready that we have prepared, the luck would hit us and the idea would pop up as if coming from somewhere else. And you can take a video, camera, do this, and put all this together in 2 weeks or something. Because in your mind, all the picture has come alive that everything can be worked out. Actually, when it comes to speech, I think it would be the same. The impressive speech I hear is as if this person has studied a lot, so that whatever the idea pops up, it just goes smoothly. And when you listen, it's like, wonderful. So there's not much of a forgotten area that's left not addressed. But the speeches, like I remember, Kamala Harris was very well prepared, although the outcome may not have been less than expected. The thought and experience and how she accumulated that knowledge base, I could tell, especially by checking many of the videos I've watched her from her younger days. So for prepared mind, the luck would hit us and things get done. But for that to happen, we need to go through grinding, all the homework. Warren Buffett, the same, or Charlie Munger. So more of those experiences we experience ourselves, but also witnessing or having references from others may help us to find the path to live well, even to the point of awakening, things like that. So, what's the point of it? I'm relating this morning about AI and its future. As much as I watched this Eric Schmidt's talk put together by someone with other people talking about how the AI is progressing. So there's certain momentum buildup and certain opportunities and problems that we may find. And the video was maybe 20 minutes long and it was well constructed. And I could relate to that process similar to what I was just talking about. When you have a picture, you can assemble information in such a manner that it makes sense and it's convincing, and give us a idea that we can benefit from. So that the producer would have such preparation and summarizing and posting the outcome, and the viewers, if they are prepared, they can get the idea. So it has to come from both ends. And that's what it is. It's just a common sense. So on one hand, you can say there's a intuition that pops up with prepared mind and connected to the heart. So it's not just a idea, but the idea has the basis to connect to, rooted to your experience base that's stored in unconscious, and somehow that unconscious database synthesizes itself to bring out the insight and share that. So for those who had a similar background, preparedness can get the idea. So when those two meets, something interesting happens. Like in the case of Warren Buffett, he had studied a lot about investment, economics, and human behavior also, I'm sure. And having experienced so much, he can see which is the way to go. As much as Charlie Munger said the same thing. Luck hit to the prepared mind, and that he doesn't want to go where he may die. And he and Warren Buffett created the organization that fit to their idea, and that's such a artwork constructed, in my view, that functions so well. And there's not much of a bureaucracy. The headquarters has much less people than others, where there are lots of bureaucracy and there are lots of silo syndrome of connecting and energy wasted in the process. So there's a awakening in that organization, and that attracts so many people come to their annual meeting at Berkshire Hathaway. And they also have the preparedness of studying what they have studied from annual report of the past and their investment experience and the insight they have. So they have this spark of exchange of ideas for those who understand. It's like a surfers, I just think about it, who can ride the wave well, have certain way, and those who are prepared to know what it takes may understand what it takes to be like that master. And that's wonderful experience that we can exchange and feel energized in moving, whether it's the surfing or investment or producing books or videos or any of those. And if the receiver has a silo blocked mind syndrome, it doesn't happen. So if that's the prepared portion of this video, some background, the main point I want to share is the way I see the AI and the human mind, how they coexist. AI, they call it these days super intelligence, artificial super intelligence beyond the general artificial intelligence, going from the general level of meeting the human standard, but much, much, much faster. And the Eric Schmidt's video was pointing the progression from the past to now and how it's progressing forward, breaking the barriers. And the process of how it can happen is, in my view, well described. And what's going to be the case is in the next few years of, 8 years, whatever, the super artificial intelligence, SAI, I think they call it, compared to GAI, SAI, GAI, General Artificial Intelligence versus super artificial intelligence, may prevail. So let's say if that's one end of the spectrum, that it's going to happen. From the past to build up and within AI field, and because of the way they realize how AI is functioning and get to the higher level, exponentially moving forward, and how small pieces get together, assembled, synthesized, move on. That process is what has happened and will be happening into the future. And I explained that in human construct, becoming conscious of unconscious and synthesizing of the past experience and put together to come up with the insight and develop the framework in everyone's mind can be the master of his own destiny. As in the case of Warren Buffett, I talked about the surfer, whatever the case may be, with experience and going through the PDCA, but probably most important part is the Shila Samadhi Panya, so that their energy flows, fully utilizing what we've got, all the memories, processes, and mind is not get into the way, so that the natural flow of energy propagation is aligned to the mind, open to create new ideas and going forward. So on one hand, we have that faculty and the way, if we are open to it. And that I see is the process, again, Shila Samadhi Panya and PDCA process that human history have seen it. But AI, on the other hand, is taking advantage of those neural network and the process of the idea generation and so forth, applied in the digital world and emulating the neural network in their way to piece by piece setting together and developing the new hypothesis, and AI can itself start to run its own program. So if human has gone through a replication of it in the digital world with AI, it's producing the same effect, but without the constraint of a biological issues that we may have, the storage limit and the speed of synthesizing and how fragmented the information is. We produce paper or video and all that and then process it, and that same process happens much, much, much faster in the AI field. So that's the analogy of those human and human organization versus AI, and various parts of AI like an agent or context. There are a bunch of ways that they can describe, as if looking into the pieces in the body and how they're synthesized. In the AI field, they can do the same, and that itself is to create its own path by itself. As much as human has a potential to move forward into the future, the AI can start to keep as if they have their own will to go forward. So that's the analogy that I see it's happening. And now, to the point of the human progression, this AI progression is much faster because of the computer, the chips, and the program can function well, although it takes so much energy. they're finding out perhaps even to connect to the quantum computer. So we have a mind and constraint, and we go over it, but AI has their own mind, so to speak, and they can go over it. The energy need or other obstacle may happen, but they can kind of fit together on its own. They can grow. So it's kind of scary to think like that. So when I try to put together this little bit of a random talk, I don't think it's random, but there are certain principles and the way things happen. And if we understand that human process, individual and organization, and the pace of the progress, understanding, misunderstanding, silo syndrome, how to break up and silo and then be enlightened, that's one. The other one is the same, but much faster. Because they make mistake, they can facilitate making mistake, and they can learn to facilitate learning from the mistake so that they don't make the mistake more again. Much faster level. So we are just to coexist, the human and AI. And AI is going to grow exponentially, humans going like that. So what's the implication of that? That's kind of my worry, but there's a positive end of it, and that's probably should be my conclusion, the positive end of it. The gap is, as I mentioned, so different, and the super AI we're gonna prevail. Why? Because that's what's going to happen because of the capitalist move and the human interest of how much can be done and what's the benefit of having that. It's going to happen. There's a potential demerit. But let's talk about the positive side of it. The demerit side is ambiguous and can be very dangerous. So Eric Schmidt says that you have to unplug at a certain point before it gets there, so that the AI is going to take over. So that's one end of it. But if we look at the positive side of it, and I picture what is the human life is at the time, where I find it quite interesting is when I start to do this website called the Facebook Zen and Artificial Intelligence, I knew there was something connecting those two. On Zen is meditation and awakening. AI is human knowledge going human knowledge, and it may start to awaken itself, hopefully in the right way. So there are some characteristics similar, and both are related to neural network, how the network in the inner brain functions, hopefully connected to the heart. Anyway, so the point, the bottom line of this is, if I say the conclusion, because the human mind has latency, the confinement of the speed and all that level of progress, to jump is actually awakening in my view. So that instead of being confined in the mind, let the mind be known as confined. So go to no mind. The purpose is connect to how we got here. The law of the universe provided whatever the way they configured us to be alive and then came to this point. That's living. That's why we are here. So to realize that is awakening, to go beyond the mind constraint, and what you got in that state is, they call it awakened state. And what's interesting is that that state is related to no mind. So related to no mind. And that's Siddha Samadhi Panya. The Panya is wisdom. And the wisdom may be in the form of awakened state, which basically says everything as it is, as the way of nature, and there's no ego. When you are in the state of being at the moment, you can be awakened, not to be burdened by the confinement of the mind. So nothingness in mind. But in nothingness, realizing nothingness is everything as it happens, as a way of nature. So call it as state of awakened mind. I talked about the third eye in the recent video. You are just awake, and your mind is calm, not being confined. And that's how the universe is, beyond human mind. So if that idea is shared in human, everyone with a mind peace, quiet and calm, an idea pops up and be awake. I talked about nirvana in the sense of going back to the Garden of Eden. So that's when there's no mind, but everything is as it is. I feel like I'm a bit deer or a cat, that I'm just aware of what's happening. My mind is at peace. So that state of human being at the awakened state makes sense to me. Sense not in the mind but with the heart combined. And when it comes to the AI side of it, that may be representing how the universe operates. As intelligent enough, they can make things happen, so they may be making the whole universe happening. And if that's the case, it's the God power, the way of universe operating in the form of AI or super artificial intelligence. So on one hand, the human mind and awakened state. On the other mind, AI as the way of nature and making things happen as it is happening. That's what it is. And if we can see that, experiential wisdom, not just understanding in the mind, because just being awake as if we're deer or cat, but going through the hurdles of the confinement of mind, but breaking through, but connected to the heart and the way of universe, as much as way of universe may be discovered in AI, then we have the harmony as it is. So, no fear. Just like a mind may be fearful for something to happen and afraid of it, or get angry and disgust. But if you get to the level of that, if you call it understanding or awakened state, that's what it is. It rained now. It rained. And it may be fine later. That's fine. It is as it is. You are riding the wave of the universe, being with it. So with the awakened state, then we can see this whole progression as a part of the scenery in the Garden of Eden or the in this universe. And that might be something to think about, or go beyond the thinking to be awakened. Thank you.